Okay, so we've been working on working with inequalities, and just like regular equations can have multi-steps, so can inequalities. So we're going to work with a few of those. The steps are pretty much the same. Again, you got to remember that one piece where if you personally multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality sign. So we'll talk about that in these as well. But otherwise, the steps are the same. Nothing's changed there. And then we're going to do some story problems and inequalities too. I know you're excited because that part's fun. I will tell you right now that this part right here actually comes from the advanced book, from the Algebra 1 book. You'll see it next year. But we're doing some of that this year. Okay, so we start out with this problem right here. We have 9 plus 4t is greater than 21. Kind of thinking in advance here, what are you going to have to do? Well, you look in front of that 9. You're going to have to, it's positive, so you're going to subtract the 9, right? Then you see the coefficient of 4 in front of the t. So you know you're going to end up dividing that off at some point. So let's get to it. And I've just taken this straight out of the advanced book. I left their steps in here. It's easier to read, I think, than maybe on my bad handwriting. But again, copy it down correctly. Then we're down to that add subtract phase, because these are really just kind of two-steppers here, right? So in front of the 9 is nothing, so it's positive, so you subtract it from both sides. Once you've done that, you get that 4t equals 12, because 21 minus 9 is 12. Then we divide off that 4 since it's multiplied. And once we do that, we find t is greater than 3. Now again, notice I did not multiply or divide by any negatives, so I did not have to switch the inequality. No flipping it. Try to make a new word there. Flip and switch to swip. Anyway, the check, right? Go back and plug that in. Make sure that works for what we're doing here. Plug that 3 in, and we find that, well, 4 times 3 is 12, plus the 9 is 21, so it does work. So don't forget to do the check. So go ahead and pause, head back into class kick. I've got one for you, pretty much like the one we just did. Okay, so this time before we start, you got to think about what are we going to have to do. Well, this is a two-stepper, right? We're going to add that 7. Ooh, then we're going to be dividing a negative 6. When we do that, remember, this will flip, so don't forget that part. That's important, folks. So we'll get started. So we'll start off with that adding of 7 to both sides. There we go. Add 7 to both sides. So I got my negative 6a less than or equal to, let's see, 17 plus 7 is 24. Now here, notice, again, we're going to be dividing off that negative 6. Once I do that so that I don't forget, flip this thing right there, flip it. So I get a now becomes greater than or equal to negative 4. And again, for your check, you plug that back in. So I'm going to have negative 6 times negative 4 minus 7 less than or equal to 17. Well, that's positive 24 minus 7 less than or equal to 17. And 24 minus 7 is 17. So 17 less than or equal to 17. So it worked. And there you go. Go ahead and keep watching for another example from me. Alrighty. So on here, again, I've just copied it straight out of the book so we can discuss it. This one has a few more steps in it, right? But again, the rules are the same as they were with the equations, with the exception that when I multiply or divide by that negative, right? So let's start out with distributive property. Share the 3 with the t, the 3 with the 1. So that becomes 3t plus 3. Bring down the minus 4t and everything else. Now 3t's minus 4t's is negative 1t. And I don't care if you write the 1 there. You're welcome to do so. Bring down the plus 3 is greater than or equal to negative 5. Now it's just a regular problem, right? Just a two-stepper. So subtract off that 3 from both sides. Don't forget that negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. Then we're going to divide off that negative 1 because this is really negative 1t. The moment I do that, I flip the inequality sign, right? Don't forget that. So t becomes less than or equal to a positive 8. Okay, so again, pause the video again and head into class kick, and it's your turn for another one. Alrighty. So here we are going to have some distributed property fun. I'm going to recopy the problem just for the simple fact that I want to. So 15 less than or equal to 5. Whoops. Hang on. I don't know why that's not writing very well today. Less than or equal to 5 minus 2 times 4m plus 7. Now please note here, I'm going to have to distribute a negative 2, right? Not just the 2, the negative sign goes with it. So don't forget that. So we're going to have 15 less than or equal to 5 minus 8m minus 14, because I distributed the negative 2. Now we can go back and combine some like terms. Notice here we're going to have 5 minus 14. That's going to give me, do you know what that is? Negative 9, right? Alrighty, so 15 less than or equal to negative 9 minus 8m. Okay, don't lose that negative sign in front of the 8. Now we're going to go back and we're going to add this 9 onto both sides because it's negative, so add the 9. And so we get, what, 15, so 24, right? 24, oops, I lost my equals part, less than or equal to negative 8m. Now I'm going to divide that negative 8 off, right? Negative 8. When I do that, flip the inequality sign this way. So I end up with 3 is greater than or equal to, or I'm sorry, negative 3 is greater than or equal to m. Now, we do know that's tough to graph it, right, for when we did the graphing stuff. So I like to use my mirror trick and flip the entire thing. So I get m less than or equal to negative 3. And there you go. Stop and ask questions if you need them, folks. Continue for another example from me. Yep, you guessed it. You can have variables on both sides here as well. So, what are the solutions here for 6n minus 1 greater than 3n plus 8? You got to pick a side. Where do you want the variables to go? Where do you want the numbers to go, right? That's what you always have to do with these. So, I've decided the variables are going to go to the left side and the numbers to the right side here. So, let's line up nice and straight down here. So, start off by subtracting that 3n from both sides. 6n minus 3n, well, it's 3n. Lucky us. Bring down the minus 1 here. Don't lose it. And over here, it just becomes 8, right, because we got rid of the 3n. Now I'm going to get rid of the minus 1 here by adding 1 to both sides. When I do that, I get the 3n coming down, and 8 plus 1 is 9. Now I'm dividing off a positive 3. When I do that, I don't flip anything, so n is greater than 3. All right, you're going to pick a variable side and a number side here. And let's see, I'm going to move the variables to the left side. So we take a look. I want to add this 2b to both sides. Add 2b to both sides. So I get 3b plus 2b is 5b. Bring down the plus 12 is greater than 27. Now I want to go ahead and get rid of the 2, so subtract the 2 from both sides. So I get 5b is greater than 25. Oh, for Pete's sake, I was thinking, that's not the right answer. It's not going to be 5. That looks nice, though. Hey, I forgot this is actually a 12, right? It's actually a 12 there, so there we go, clean that up a little bit. So let's try that again. So I'm gonna subtract 12 from both sides. That'll work out a little better. So I get 5b is greater than, we're going to get 15. 27 minus 12, right? Now divide off my 5, and b is 3. And there you go. Got a little homework over this one.